Hello YouTube. So today I want to cover something very briefly, or flesh it out. I'll see how it draws out. But I'm walking here getting my steps in for the day, like I've been trying to promise myself to do at least 4 times a week. So I want to talk today about the different vectors of our body. So our biomechanical structure, we have a lot of lines. People talk about arm lines, like trunk lines, and you really need to think about how much of that energy is transferred forward and back between, the anterior and posterior sides of the body. These loads really are the way that we function, to be honest, in our explosive movements. And so we need to start incorporating more rehabilitation on these vectored movements, because it's how our bodies are rigged to work. When we produce a large force, let's say if you're pushing a boulder in front of us, right? You're gonna push through the rib cage with your legs and then your arms once you fully extend the torso. That's not to say that's ineffective, but it's a gross undersimplification, right? Or oversimplification, sorry, of what the movement actually entails within the body, within the muscular structure. There's a lot of different vectors, like say in our glutes, the bottom part that a lot of males find attractive, the shelf. That part, it vectors out into the middle of the belly of the glute, pushing back into the middle hip where we have our little joining area right around here. And then that branches back out to the upper glute, where that then dives into the lumbar. Back and forth, like that. Same way through the actual muscle bellies. I mean, like you see, there's probably different types of contractions through the striations. So I think like through our vertebrae, our column, same way. Now you really look at like the lumbar through the sacrum, all the way up until like low mid back, right at the top of the Christmas tree. Then that goes into our solar plexus up front, then bounces back up to the mid back in the middle, and then bounces back up into the other plexus here, right in front, right by our sternal plexus, I think it would be called, radiating out into our brachial plexus, and then up to the cervical plexus. Like that. That's like sideways movement, but also forward. It's like a helix sort of movement. If you train these lines, you will get stronger overall. There's no need to do too many isolations, to be honest. You'll see the natural development that you're supposed to see in your body when you start doing the movements properly. Now, obviously not everyone wants to have a barrel of a chest by doing like all these different presses, but like when you really think about it, working out isn't supposed to be fully focused on that. You can do plenty of push-ups, but the workout itself should be in training your lines, because that's what makes us function the best. So when we go ahead and train through these lines, it ends up being a lot of work on the weaker muscles and a lot of tension placed on the stronger muscles. So it's our duty to ensure that we're working it at the best angle or best fixation of any variation you could do for it. You should have the one that works best for you in that moment. Now, if you're performing for weight, reps, whatever, then maybe you want to do the one that you're best at. But if you want to work on your weak spots, which should be the focus of most of your training, like at least 2/3, probably not more, you're going to want to hit the weak ankles. But I mean, obviously, whenever possible, take just a neutral approach, right? But yeah, I've been working on different parts of my line of my torso, right? So I'm working on my sternum and my oblique on this side, feel a big weakness starting at the upper part, right at the outside of the chest, radiating into the middle, and then back down to the hip, into like the deep hip, so like closer to like the groin, and then back out to the butt area where my glute is. Just a lot of shit. And it adds up. So it's best to try and take care of it before it extends into the rest of the line. It just spreads like wildfire, and you can kill it very soon, very early, if you really try to. If you let it drag on, you know, sometimes things just get worse because we don't hit the right angle, we don't hit the right muscle, and that's not our fault. We don't know everything, but even professionals won't get it on the first try sometimes. And it's just some testing, you know. Test often and adapt often. And that can be applied as a general theme in life, huh? So always adapt. Those are the ones that win. But yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was trying to hit on today. There's no need to really do isolations on their own. Isolations are more so for direct hypertrophy. If you really find them to be the muscles, you know, that you're addressing, if you really find them to be, you know, aesthetically, you know, maybe too small or too maybe structurally weak. Maybe you do a lot of training in one side of the body and you want to just balance it out. That's completely okay. You can still do, you know, compound movements that might hit them all, but sometimes these compound movements are meant to feel like isolations, right? And that's one of the styles that you could do this. Same way when you hit the weak points, you hit the strong points, you can hit the balancing point, so you can get the front from not teetering, or whichever way you're training, right? Yeah, but I think that concludes it. Train your lines.